Well, g'day everyone at Bayswater train station, and that thing in front of me is the viaduct, and the station is under there, on top of there, whatever. But we're not having a look at that today. We're going to go and have a look at a new shared path that I spotted last week, which runs up whatever the heck, Drake Street, just over the road here. So let's go find it. It's just past the Bayswater Hotel. Okay, I guess that's the easiest thing, and it starts at this set of derelict shops. All right, here we go. Now, I've only done this once before, back and forth. First attempt at doing this was a bit haphazard, to say the least. I think this is a local path that's been built by the council. I don't know if they got state government funding to do it. But my general impression of it, just riding along it, is, well, it's narrow to start with. It's certainly not like your usual principal shared path. And it's got one reasonably steep hill. I'm just going to zip up this hill and talk at the top. Now, I was wrong about this being a shared path, because it says bike path only. So pedestrians are supposed to stick to the footpath. Now, it's got a couple of these back and forths on it, where you've got to cross from side to side. I can understand why they did that, because up here on this side of the road there is a school, so it does make sense to run the path past the school, like almost the front gate, and also, oh crikey, there's this bus shelter. That bus seat's still in the middle of the path. That was there last week. And there's also a park and a playground up here. It's just a little bit unfinished, and that's also on this side of the road. So it does make sense for it to run along here most of the way. Why it switches back and forth, I'm not entirely sure. I guess if I went up and down it a few times, I'd probably figure it out. But right now, I don't have an answer. All right. Nice big wide ramps at the crossings, huge mouth, can't miss that. There's a bit of a log playground there, and people were playing cricket here when I came through on the weekend and had a look. Now, up ahead here, where there's another hill of reasonable steepness, the paths actually cross over. So on my right there's a concrete path for pedestrians, and at the bottom of this hill the two swap sides. It's probably to save money from having to dig up the pedestrian path and relay it, but I do wonder about the safety issues. As for the narrowness of the path, or the lack of width, look, I think it'll be fine if it's used as a pedestrian-only path. Sorry, bike only. It's actually a symbol there that says pedestrians only. So is this now shared? It's a little bit wider here. This is the school on my left. I know I was here on the weekend because they were voting. So it's definitely Saturday, election day. Now, I did go up and have a look at the school on the weekend. Just ducked up the path there to see if I could spot any bike racks and things, or a bike parking area. Couldn't find one. So you can see it's all very unfinished. Here's another one of these crossovers. And for some reason, instead of using crushed sandstone as the base layer, they've gone with, what is it, like crushed blue metal maybe? I'm not entirely sure. But the path finishes at the end of this hill, at the bottom of this hill. I'm not sure what's on the other side. I think there's a park over there, but I haven't gone over to have a look. I just thought I'd have a look at what was obviously the path and try and make this really reasonably quick. Now, I'm not sure how, well, there's a ramp here to get across. But the issue is this is Brown Avenue, B-R-O-U-N. If I go out in the middle of the road, that island is about that deep, so I'd have to stand side on if I had to wait for the traffic. That's a really lousy crossing. In fact, even if I wasn't on the bike, if I was just standing there, I'd have to suck my guts in to avoid being hit by a passing car. So I don't know if they're going to do something about improving that crossing. Don't quite know how they do that without really changing the road. Now I just want to compare this roundabout to what's happening in Shenton Park with the Safe Active Street. You know, what they were doing there was slowing down the streets to 30 kilometres an hour. And one of the things they're doing is putting in red asphalt cushions at intersections like this to slow down the drivers coming into the roundabout, which is really what you need in order to have a safe crossing. I'll show you just these bizarre islands. Oh, they've got a hump. That's a savage hump in the middle. I don't know why. Well, it's very effective at slowing people down if you're in a wheelchair or pushing a pram or on a bike. Why they feel the need to do that, I don't know, when the real need is to slow down the drivers, especially outside of school. So I don't know if they're going to do anything about those crossings, but I think it'd be a good idea too. Now, one thing I was worried about on the weekend was vehicles protruding into the path that are parked along here. I don't think it's such an issue because with angle parking, firstly, there's a lot more room for the vehicles, so they don't need to park up against the curb to keep their backsides out of the traffic. And the other thing is if your front wheel is touching the curb, you're really not going to have much vehicle hanging over. So there were a lot more cars here on Saturday. There wasn't much intrusion really into the lane. Now here, I don't know if you can see, it's bike only, and then over there it's pedestrian only. How they're going to enforce that, I don't know, because again, when I came along here on the weekend, I don't think the stencils were here then, but there were certainly lots of dogs and prams and stuff over here in the bike lane. So I guess until the residents get used to it, it's probably going to stay like that. I just noticed an island back there in the middle of the road that seems to be new. So I think they might have put in a couple of road treatments to try and bring down the traffic speeds. Here's this interesting little snaky crossing. You know, they've done that to avoid having to pull up, I don't know, 100 metres of footpath and relay it. I guess if you're absolutely penny pinching, then I guess that's what you do. I guess if you did do that, there'd be lots of people, residents complaining, oh my God, you pulled up a perfectly good footpath to, you know, just move it 6 feet across and wasted all our money and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, we did that to keep you safe. And the same people are probably going to complain when they get hit by a cyclist as they look at TikTok on their phone. It's like, how could you make such a dangerous design? It's like, well, you complained about the cost of doing something about it. Yeah, well, I didn't think I was going to get hit, did I? Yeah, anyway. Look, as far as getting hit by drivers coming out of their driveways, I don't really see that as much of an issue because there's a lot of space between the edges of the properties here and the path. So the sight lines are good. It's not blocked by trees and shrubbery and stuff. So, you know, drivers should have no excuse for failing to see someone out here on the path. Oh, and also in some spots like this, they have put down some big pads. I'm not going to call them, well, I guess you could call them speed humps, but they're more like speed mattresses. They're quite large. And I did notice on the weekend they did seem to be effective at slowing drivers down approaching the crest, because the problem we've got here, we've got to cross the road. You can see there's a car coming up the hill. And thankfully, the pads are slowing them down, because the last thing you want, some idiot to come tearing over that hill at 100 kilometres an hour. You'd have about half a second of warning before they smashed into you. So there's a pad there. And as we roll down the hill, there's another one at this intersection. I don't know if the council is going to do any speed monitoring along here to see how effective they are, whether they need to put in some more treatments, maybe islands in the middle of the road, or some apparent narrowing, or increase the savagery of the humps. I don't know. Now, why are we on the other side here? Why don't I... Well, you can see down the end, there's the station. It could possibly be because of the car park for the Bayswater Hotel, that there's a lot more traffic on that side of the road. But what I'm going to do, just out of interest, I'm going to pop over here and I'm going to ride up the other footpath and just see if I can understand why they made that decision. Maybe the pub's really popular and, it gets huge numbers of people gaggling out the front at times, or out the side here, and they didn't want to potentially have fast-moving cyclists coming down the hill crashing into drunken patrons out the front. It's always a possibility. Or there's a gas pipeline here, and it was too difficult to put a path down with a pipeline underneath it. Or another possibility is these trees up ahead at this little parkland oval, etc. I mean, there's a playground here. It's quite a nice little oval. Okay, doesn't say much about it. But I wonder if they would have had to have taken out these trees in order to build a path along here. And again, you can imagine the protest from people about removing trees like this. So it was probably a non-starter. And then, up ahead here, there's not a whole lot of space on this side of the road, that's for sure. And in fact, the residents have all built out their verges all out, have taken over the private or the public space for themselves, and built some lovely little gardens by the look of it. And I imagine there would have been a lot of howling and screaming about that. And you can also see coming up here, there's just no room on this side of the road to run a path on the roadside of those trees. So, okay, I guess we have a reasonable explanation for why the path chops and changes. That's my take on it. If anyone actually knows any better, leave a comment. Okay, we'll have a look at how easy it is down the bottom to get into Bayswater Station. Now, from this point here, off to the left, there's a couple of shops up there. There's a nice little cafe called Baysy 3.8. That's where I had lunch and a coffee, and it's not bad. It's worth trying out. Very interesting food. And I'm assuming those abandoned shops there are going to be redeveloped at some point and turned into a nice little shopping centre. And I'm also assuming they're going to do something about putting in commercial underneath the viaduct here. There's all sorts of police signs here on the other side of the road. Whether they're going to be little offices of some sort or whether they're going to be shops, I don't know. Look, I do know. We can go up the ramp here. And what is there? There's an IGA. There's a... Can I go up here? I've never been up here. There's a post office. So I guess you can see how you could use that path to get down here to your local shops. And if you've got panniers on the back like I am, or like I have, you could use that to do your shopping every now and again. And there is a little, shopping village here at Bayswater off to my left. So we'll just roll down here. There's more cafes and stuff. If I turn left at the lights, there's some down there. Oops. All right. I don't know if any of these are going to relocate to underneath the railway station, but I guess we shall see. So a news agency, there's a pharmacy, and if I went around the corner, you'd see all the other stuff. We're not going to bother doing that. Now, if I was just coming over here casually, over on my right there are 5 bike hoops, which, if you don't mind risking having your bike nicked, it's probably all right. Now, over the other side of the road there, outside the real estate agent, Mila Beauty, Hair Art, Pilates, etc. There is a series of 4 bike hoops over there. So, yeah, if you're going to visit any of those businesses, you're all set up. And underneath the railway station on the other side here, we're going to go past it. There's a large secure bike parking area. You need to get yourself a ticket from the railways and use that to swipe yourself in. So if you're using that to get to work and you're riding down to the railway station, here you go. All right, there's the path. That'll do.